We start with the unfortunate news, the sad news of the passing of Virgil Runnels, also known as Dusty Rhodes. According to reports, he suffered a fall that proved to be fatal and has passed away at the age of 69. Dusty was a legend in so many ways. He was one of those guys who's a transitional talent, somebody who became a big star in various territories, which included WWE, NWA. He was a booker, a legendary booker, and somebody who just not only one of the most charismatic stars, great talker, that's one of the things he's always going to be known for, but also a great wrestling mind. One of those total packages. He's like a Paul Heyman who could wrestle. Just rare, once in a lifetime, once in a generation talent. And it's a huge loss at the age of 69 that Dusty Rhodes is now no longer with us. And if you'll think, Dusty Rhodes was still having an impact on professional wrestling today, where he was instrumental in WWE's developmental territory, NXT. He was still contributing. So somebody who, just from the day he entered the wrestling business, changed it completely for the better. And, a Dusty Rhodes promo, you could argue, was second to none. You're talking about clear, true, pure promo ability. Dusty Rhodes is in the short discussion, or on the short list, as one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, when it came to cutting promos. So very, very unfortunate to learn about the passing of Dusty Rhodes. He will be missed.
American Dream.
It is Alfred Big Nasty Kunawa. Dateline, June 11th, 2015. It's American Evacuation Day. It's Brazilian Navy Commemorative Day. It's Davis Day. It's Kamehameha Day in Hawaii, not Dragon Ball Z. It is Student Day, and a very special happy birthday to Prince Henrik in Denmark. Please remember to subscribe to the PodNasty Wrestling Podcast on iTunes and YouTube, and listen on SoundCloud and Stitcher. I have a great interview with WWE superstar Neville later on in the show. We talked about his feelings and thoughts going into what really is the biggest match of his career at WWE Money in the Bank, where he will be in the iconic ladder match. He also talked about his transition from NXT to WWE, so a lot of good stuff there. But first, Raw was pretty languishing, kind of a boring episode. Nothing really happened of note. There was a great comedy spot with R-Truth and Kane that I loved. But boy, is Seth Rollins dying as champion. Oh my goodness. This is one of the worst reigns I've seen since Sheamus from 2009 and 2010, where he was just winning all kinds of matches by disqualification and on technicalities, despite being this big monster who really just needed to just start killing people like Brock Lesnar does in order to really get over, and they didn't quite let him do that. Seth Rollins, I understand the spoiled prince gimmick. I understand the champion of the authority gimmick, but they're going way too far with this. He's not even a real champion. It's like a paper champion. He's not winning any matches by himself. The matches he does win are by technicalities. And he just lost to J&J Security, who are half of his size. They were the joke security guards until recently. Can you imagine Stone Cold Steve Austin, or The Rock for that matter, when he was with the corporation, losing to the Stooges? That was a competitive match. Seth Rollins winning that WWE World Heavyweight Championship might be the worst thing that happened to him. If there was no plans to really give him a serious run, it kind of makes you wonder why they put it on him in the first place. Was this just a move because everybody was expecting Roman Reigns to win and WWE was prepared for fans to rebel, and this was a smart, sexy internet thing to do the night of WrestleMania, is to just flip the title to Rollins? Because at this point, if Rollins was to lose the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Sunday at Money in the Bank in some form or fashion, that claim that he might be the worst WWE champion of all time, it's still kind of a stretch, but it isn't that much of a stretch. These things hurt. This is what's been plaguing WWE for years now, is you get a guy, you put him in the main event, you even put the World Championship on him, and then it doesn't quite work out, and they recycle him. Now, I don't see them necessarily recycling Seth Rollins. I think he's going to go back to the Shield division. That Shield division is close to the top of the card. So as long as he has those Shield ties, WWE mentions that every week. He'll be just fine. But boy, what a travesty this reign would have been if he loses that title at Money in the Bank. And you know what? I think he might. I think the stage is set for a Roman Reigns heel turn. And if so, why not? I'd have no problem with it. The summer is usually when WWE experiments with things, when they tinker with things. Try out a guy as a heel. Try out a guy as a world champion. I think now's the time to put the title on Reigns, but as a heel, so that fans don't really necessarily rebel. And if they do, good, he's a bad guy. You're supposed to. Reigns is an overwhelming favorite to win Money in the Bank. If he wins it, that's a heel gimmick. I mean, it would be so awkward if he carried that thing around as a babyface, especially because he's this big, bruising, speak silently, carry a big stick type babyface. He's not really the type of person who would fit with Money in the Bank. He's not an opportunist. So I could see a situation where Roman Reigns wins a Money in the Bank and cashes it in later on the night, whether that means Dean Ambrose beats Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns cashes in. Which, by the way, how weak would Seth Rollins look if that happened? He's finally wrestling a match by himself and he can't beat Dean Ambrose after Dean Ambrose stole his title and then he gets ushered away in favor of the new champion in Roman Reigns? Ooh, that would be terrible for Seth Rollins. But I see a scenario like that. Either Dean Ambrose wins, Seth Rollins retains, he has his moment, and Roman Reigns comes in and cashes in and beats them both up and eventually joins the Authority. Now, this wouldn't hurt Roman Reigns nearly as much as I think it hurt Seth Rollins when he was the champion of the Authority. Because I think if Roman Reigns were to join the Authority, he would be like their hired mercenary. He would be the killer for the Authority. He would be the guy who the Authority would take to breathe fire on the rest of WWE. He wouldn't need J&J Security and Kane and the bells and whistles. He would just be their champion. Stephanie and Triple H could be more or less than mouthpieces, and he could just destroy people. And guess what? He could get over doing this as a heel and eventually as a babyface, because now you're setting the stage for an eventual babyface turn in a moment that the Authority can't control this man any longer. And when they tell him to do something down the line, he won't do it. And it eventually leads to him just destroying everybody in the Authority, just beating everybody up. Seth Rollins isn't going to get to have that moment. You know what Seth Rollins' big babyface moment is probably going to be? When Roman Reigns turns heel and beats him up. And that's going to be based on sympathy. So now the Shield musical chair game continues.
Shield.
Yeah. I just feel a heel turn in the air. It smells like a heel turn. Reigns has been especially buddy-buddy with Ambrose, or hammering that in your head. They're making sure to remind you week after week that these guys used to be a unit. That way, when Reigns, or if Reigns turns on Ambrose, then it's a big shocker. And you still have those ties. And now it's Rollins and Ambrose versus Reigns. I'm telling you, this Shield musical chairs thing is going to continue for the rest of their careers. They need a Shield championship. Just get a Shield champion. Forget Money in the Bank and the WWE World Heavyweight title. Get a Shield championship in there. Because right now, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship means very little. You think about how much it meant when Brock Lesnar had it. And I remember there was all this concern that Brock Lesnar as WWE World Heavyweight Champion, he's not going to be around every week, so if we don't see the belt on TV every week, it's going to make it look weak. Not at all. When Brock Lesnar was champion, I can't think of a time during the modern era that it meant more. I mean, you can think about CM Punk, but CM Punk was never really in the main event. He was always second, third match from the top, so that title always seemed like a secondary world title. But when Brock Lesnar had it, he was a special box office attraction who, when he defended that title, it was an event, and he looked dominant in victory. Hell, he looked dominant in defeat. That title seemed like it was never going to leave Brock Lesnar's grasp. But now you see it on TV every single week, and Seth Rollins is doing the same thing, cutting the same promo every single week. He's getting a little snideier every single week. And I think it's really hurt the title that you've got this fraud of a champion. And I say fraud both in and out of storyline. He is being presented as a guy who literally does not deserve to even be holding onto that title. He doesn't even have the title in his possession. He's losing to a security team. This has been a nightmarish run for Seth Rollins, the character and the man. I really do think it's going to take quite some time to recover from this. They might mess around and pair Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins as a tag team and figure, this might be better for now. Let's give Reigns this world title run and put these guys as a tag team. Compete with the Usos and the New Day, and they might get tempted. I mean, we've seen this pattern time and time again in WWE. Top guy, world champion, back to the mid-card. And you stay there and you languish. That's where Seth Rollins seems to be destined. I'm telling you, they should have just pulled the trigger with Roman Reigns as champion. I know as a babyface it would have been rough sales and it wouldn't have necessarily been the smoothest championship run. But again, at the same time, I could see a scenario where Roman Reigns becomes a heel champion and it's better for him. So I can see why they're doing that too. Money in the Bank looks to be a pretty stacked pay-per-view. I mean, there's a lot of matches if you look at it. There's about 7 matches on the card, which is good for a pay-per-view that only had, a 2-week build? You got R-Truth and King Barrett. Whatever, flip a coin. King Barrett, that King of the Ring has done nothing for Bad News Barrett but make him look like a schizophrenic who can't decide on what character he's going to be. Give me King Barrett. Give me Roman Reigns and Money in the Bank, although Neville is a dark horse. This might be one of those matches where WWE sees that Roman Reigns is an overwhelming favorite and they decide to do the little swerverino. No rhyme or reason, just because it's so predictable that Roman Reigns is going to win that maybe they just flip it. But boy, talk about sentimental favorite. I would love to see Kofi Kingston win Money in the Bank and share it with the New Day. So that every single week, not every single week, but once in a while you get a tease Money in the Bank cash in, but it's a different member of the New Day trying to cash it in. This could be the best or worst thing for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship if we get a freebird rule for the WWE World Heavyweight title. Boy, would that be fun, though. Speaking of the New Day, I've got the New Day of the primetime players who are the flavor of the month against them. Titus O'Neil continues to do more with less. He's got a great comeback, and people really get into him when he's just tossing people all over the place. It doesn't look like the safest comeback in the world, but he's doing a good job. He's a great babyface, very likable, and a father of the year, I'm told. Ryback versus Big Show should be an interesting match. Don't exactly know why they let Ryback slam the Big Show, because now what are we going to look forward to? Does anybody really think Big Show's going to win the Intercontinental Championship? Maybe. But I like Ryback in this match. Get your popcorn ready. Or just get your popcorn during the match. Then we get John Cena versus Kevin Owens. Now, a lot of people who are anti-John Cena, which, why do you still exist? They are paranoid that John Cena might win this match. He might just get his heat back immediately, just weeks after Kevin Owens got the biggest win of his career. Yeah, and? So what if John Cena wins his match? I mean, I wouldn't be particularly enthused because I think the right way is to keep this Kevin Owens gravy train going. He's got a big match for the NXT Championship, which I do think he's going to lose to Finn Balor in Japan on July 4th. So losing this match would just begin this downward spiral that's way too early for Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens should win this second match because he had that great match and just barely had time to breathe with it. But if John Cena beats Kevin Owens, so what? You can't say anything about John Cena. John Cena is the most generous top star in WWE history. You run down the list of all the big stars in WWE who would have lost this match at the peak of their powers. All right, Hulk Hogan, go in there and lose to this developmental NXT champion in his first pay-per-view match. No, brother. Creative control, brother. All right, Steve Austin, go in there and lose to this developmental NXT champion in his first match on the WWE roster on pay-per-view. Austin would have no-showed that match. Bruno would have shot on him. Bret Hart would have taken it personally, and you'd have needed another screw job to make it happen. The Rock and Ric Flair, I could see happening. I could see them losing that match, but they didn't. They didn't ever lose a match to a developmental guy in his first pay-per-view match clean. I mean, this is a generous loss. Even if Kevin Owens loses, that's WWE style these days. Even Steven, you win, you lose, you win, you lose. It's not effective, but hey, Kevin Owens got a clean win over John Cena in his first match. I'm going to take Kevin Owens to win this match by disqualification, to win this match using some dirty ploy. But I wouldn't be surprised if John Cena won, and I wouldn't be too angry if John Cena won. People, he lost to Kevin Owens clean. What more do you want? Give me Kevin Owens in a dirty finish. Nikki Bella versus Paige. I don't know what happened to Naomi, who was the most interesting part and the only true defined character in the Divas division. She's the only diva fully committed to being a heel. The rest of them are just, they're like the Real Housewives. It's sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't, and it's really doing a disservice to the women in WWE. I want to see characters. I want to see somebody with motivation. What's Nikki Bella's motivation? What's Paige's motivation? They're just unstable? What are they doing? Why do they want to win? Why are they wrestling each other? What's their conflict? I flipped a coin, and I guess I got Nikki Bella. And finally, we have Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. Top of this rant, I predicted that Roman Reigns would win Money in the Bank and cash it in, thereby turning heel. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Seth Rollins is going to get his big win by himself. The Authority's going to come out and applaud him. Oh, you did it, Seth. Congratulations, kid. Oh, by the way, you have another match. And it starts right now. That's when you get Roman Reigns after Rollins has beaten his body up in a ladder match against Dean Ambrose. And Roman Reigns beats both of them up and wins the title. Something like that. But I got Seth Rollins in this match. And I got Roman Reigns to leave Money in the Bank as WWE World Heavyweight Champion. That'll be fun. I think it will. I think it'll be great, a dynamic. It'll be a much-needed change because we've gotten too much of the Seth Rollins Authority dynamic. And I think it'll be a better angle with the Authority teaming with this mercenary, with this dominant monster who they're going to sick on the entire WWE and anybody who crosses them. That'll make Roman Reigns look stronger. It'll make the Authority fresher. It'll make everybody more evil. I like that. I also like the interview I had with Neville. He was kind enough to join me just days before the biggest match of his career at WWE Money in the Bank, and we had a good old time. So here's me with Neville talking Money in the Bank and more. I am here with fast-rising WWE superstar Neville, who will compete in a field of 7 contenders this Sunday at WWE Money in the Bank. Neville, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Alfred. Appreciate it.
Now, you've had pretty much the smoothest full-time transition from NXT to the main roster, which hasn't always been the case with NXT talent. So I just wanted to know, how did you approach the transition from NXT to WWE?
Well, I think NXT prepares you for going to SmackDown the best way possible. I felt fully prepared making the transition. And I think I was lucky in the sense that, as soon as I debuted on the main roster, I was able to mix it up with some of the top guys like Seth and Sheamus and guys like that. So I think for me that was the best thing about the transition, is the fact that I had opportunities early on, and I could go with those guys and mix it up a little bit.
Now, you have had several short-term feuds with guys like Sheamus and King Barrett and even Bo Dallas. Which talents on the roster, on the main roster, are you more interested in having maybe a more long-term feud with?
That's a good question. There's so many different possibilities. With me being so new, it's all kind of fresh matchups for myself. Is that, I think that is really to. There's a lot of options I'd love to at some point mix it up with Cesaro. Cesaro is a guy I've wrestled a few times in NXT and a guy who I've known for a long time. And I feel like he certainly bring on the best each other. So I'd love to have a feud with Cesaro at some point. There's so many different options. Bryan's a guy I'd love to mix up with at some point. Tyson Kidd, Kevin Owens. We have a lot of history from NXT, and just another guy I've known for a long time. So there's so many different options.
Wow, you're going to make the internet explode with all these possibilities with Cesaro and Tyson Kidd and Daniel Bryan. No.
Guys back then came up with, so the guys after a lot of time, so.
Yeah, and the groundwork had been laid. They'd done a good job planting those seeds from, I remember back Kevin Owens' vignette, he was talking about how he remembers when you were a kid in England and he was working with you and they called you first.
Yeah, I recently watched a match that involved me and Kevin from it was 2006 maybe from England, and it's crazy to see kind of how much we've changed and how far we've come, and to be able to wrestle on Monday Night was very, very surreal,
It really is. It's also a testament to how far you've come. Now, you do have one of the most, if not the most unique finisher in the WWE, the Red Arrow. So, how did you come up with this finisher?
It was a long time ago when I was kind of, trying to break in and I started training. And I was a huge fan of high-flying wrestling and cruiserweight, so and any spare time we had during training and during practice, we try to learn all these acrobatic moves and what have you. And I guess the Red Arrow just kind of evolved. Literally, at first I learned the moonsault, and I learned the corkscrew moonsault, and then I was on the shooting star, and kind of build all these moves up by learning them piece by piece. And I've been doing the backwards full corkscrew moonsault, so I guess I had an idea of doing it forwards with the shooting star press and adding the corkscrew to that. So it's just a kind of case of like building block by block. And I knew that was something that nobody else did, so I wanted to kind of try and put my trademark on that and try and make it my own. So that's kind of how the Arrow came about, was just building it piece by piece and trying to find something that was completely unique to myself,
Now, how did the name Red Arrow come about?
Well, the Red Arrows are the acrobatic division of the Royal Air Force in England. So they like all the acrobatic displays and like air shows and all that sort of stuff. So I remember as a kid I was going to watch the Red Arrows, and I thought it was fitting with British wrestling, and the fact that the acrobatic division, I thought it was just kind of, it was cool little nod to my background.
You talk about your acrobatic style. We've seen you in good matches with other acrobatic wrestlers like Seth Rollins, but we've also seen you in good matches with bigger guys like Kevin Owens. So I just wanted to know, what type of match style do you prefer? Do you like the David versus Goliath dynamic more, or do you prefer a more fast-paced style?
Honestly, I like it all. I like to approach a match and treat it as a challenge and what's the best way to approach each different scenario. So I like to mix it up and change it, and I don't want to do the same match over and over again. So I like them all. I like mixing up as often as I can and kind of trying to keep it fresh and trying to put the appropriate match for the scenario.
Roman Reigns is a big favorite headed into Money in the Bank, and the general consensus seems to be that you're there to deliver dazzling stunts because you are one of these super athletes. Do you feel like you're being overlooked in this match?
Well, obviously I'm the new guy, and I'm certainly the guy with the least experience on the main roster in these type of matches. So I'm not surprised that I can be classed as the underdog. I think I am the underdog. I think also I'm just looking for opportunity to kind of further my brand, something from myself. So I think this match, especially for my style, it suits me down to the ground. So I'm not going to make a big statement on Sunday, and you never know what might happen. You never know what's possible.
You're going to be in there with guys like Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston, who's similar to you, great athletic skills, great abilities to do things with ladders. Do you feel like there's a sub-competition between you guys as to who's going to have the coolest spot?
I don't know. I think there's more competition to see who's got that contract. I think that's what's important. So I know we'll see. I've certainly know the lengths that I'm prepared to go to try and get ahead. So I'm not going to go in doing that with fear on the radar. So we'll see what can happen. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting match with that.
And over the past month, you've had exciting matches with both Kevin Owens and John Cena. They'll be squaring off, of course, at Money in the Bank. You were on your way to beating John Cena, whereas you were defeated by Kevin Owens this past Monday. So who do you have winning that match?
Again, tough question. Obviously, a match I'm looking forward to watching myself. To a huge match. It's certainly a very exciting time with Kevin, coming up representing NXT and John representing SmackDown. So it's hard to choose. I think if I had to choose, I'll go with John this time because I know Kevin got one over on him last time, and I know that he's going to go with John. So I'm going to look forward to watching it, whatever the outcome.
Final question. Internet rumors and pro wrestling go hand in hand, no matter how ridiculous. And one of the rumors that I was more entertained by is talk of you becoming a Mighty Mouse character. What do you make of this? Did it ever get back to you? Is there any truth to these rumors?
Yeah, there's no truth in that. I saw it, and obviously I saw the rumors all about Twitter and what have you. And I guess I was just more surprised than anything. Sometimes you get the wildest stuff will just pop up completely out of the blue. And that was one of those things, and there was no real truth behind it, but it was funny at the time, I guess. I don't know.
You do have an awesome cape, though, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He is Neville, who's going to be competing in WWE Money in the Bank, and I'm calling it right now. He's going to shock the world and win. I've got you, Neville. Make me look good, man.
Thanks, I'll keep my fingers crossed. You never know. You never know what might happen.
Thank you so much, Neville.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
I switched horses and picked Neville. Special thanks to Neville for that interview. And you know what? No, okay, I'm actually going to stick with Roman Reigns, but I could see Neville winning. In fact, I wrote an article last week as to how Neville had the second best odds, according to my calculations, to win Money in the Bank. A lot of people disagreed with me, but WWE does this. They do this especially during Money in the Bank, where whenever it seems obvious that somebody's going to win, they just swerve you. They just go with the surprise pick. I remember Jack Swagger won it in 2010. Nobody expected him to win it. Nobody expected Randy Orton to win it when he did. Few people, if anybody, expected John Cena to win when he did. I think both CM Punk Money in the Bank wins were surprises. Alberto Del Rio was not a surprise. Daniel Bryan was a surprise. Yeah, so there's been a lot of surprises in Money in the Bank, and to be honest, there have been so many surprises, I would not be surprised if Neville won. Let me just get that out there in the space. Let me just go on record with that. Don't forget to subscribe to PodNasty on iTunes and YouTube. Listen on SoundCloud and Stitcher. The YouTube channel is going off. I'm adding videos weekly. Subscriber count is growing high. And once it reaches a certain number that I like, certain 3-digit number that I like, I'm going to start releasing WWE WTF episodes every Throwback Thursday. So I really appreciate the support. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get money out of my bank. Dave Meltzer of the National Enquirer is reporting that the network was growing frustrated with TNA because advertisers wanted nothing to do with them. Yet with ROH, where the world champion has a Confederate flag ingrained into the belt, now it's going to be different.